Homemade raviolis have never gone well for me, but today that's going to change. We're gonna make mushroom ricotta stuffed ravioli with a side of asparagus and a delicious meat to surprise you in that ravioli. Pause on the meat part. But first we have to do the hardest part of the day, which is making the fresh pasta. Now if you guys have watched the channel, you know that I have suffered in making good pasta. I cannot do it, I simply cannot. But today that's where it changes because I bought semolina flour. I literally think I cannot mess up with this, but I mean, you never know these days, you never know. So I'm gonna get 1.5 cups of this flour right here. So let's get that going. So I got 1 cup right here. Then I'm gonna get 1/2 real quick. Now we're gonna make a beautiful well to put my beautiful eggs in and everything. Now I made a pretty big well because last time my well was not big enough. Now that should be big enough. Now what I have is 2 eggs in the middle of my well, and now I'm gonna start whisking this up. Then on the side, I have a tablespoon of olive oil and I have a tablespoon of water as well. And I have to put a teaspoon of salt in it as well. So real quick, I'm gonna add that just teaspoon of salt right there. Now I'm gonna incorporate that dough very slowly into it. I'm just gonna drag a little bit into it, drag a little bit of the edge into it and start mixing a little bit. Because every time I've tried to make pasta, it has gone so bad. It's not even possible how bad it's gone, like honest to God. Now I still have my olive oil and I still have my water as well. Now I'm gonna add that right in the middle. And now is the time you've all been waiting for. It's time to get mixing. Now this semolina flour, I'll be honest, it stinks. This smells so bad. Oh my God, what is the matter? It stinks in here. Now one thing I don't think I added enough of is water and olive oil. Guys, I am grinding. This is a process, and I think I'm kneading dough right. I don't really know. It's very hard, because every time I watch people make dough, when they're done kneading it, it is beautiful, it is volumetric, it is fluffy. My dough usually exemplifies a brick. Alexa, what should my pasta dough feel like texture-wise when it's done? All right, so for my pasta dough, I put it resting, I put a damp towel over top, and all I'm doing is praying. That's all I'm doing, because now we have a couple different things we have to do. For this dish, I'm gonna have a side of asparagus. If you guys wanna know a trick to cutting asparagus, all you do is make sure they're even, and you're gonna pull them, and you're just gonna completely just rip them, and it's gonna tear at the part where it's hardest. So you don't even have to really cut it. If you wanna make the edges nice and proper at the end, obviously you can do a little cut through. So they're straight edges. But again, easy as that. Asparagus is basically done. Now for this, all I'm gonna do is I have a little bowl right here. I'm gonna throw my asparagus into the bowl. I have olive oil right here. I'm gonna pour right over top. I have a little bit of salt as well. I have some pepper as well that I'm gonna put up top. And I have a little hint of garlic powder. Now I'm gonna flip these around, make sure they all get nice and covered. And I'm throwing this in the air fryer at 400 degrees for probably about 10 minutes. Now in that same bowl I'm gonna make my stuffing or my filling for my ravioli. So right here I have mild Italian sausage. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take one of these out, just one. I don't want too much sausage. And what I'm gonna do is I have a pan behind me getting really, really nice and hot. I'm gonna take this sausage out of the casing that it's in. So it's out of the casing, and I know I don't need to chop it, but I'm just gonna kind of make sure it gets flattened out. I'm essentially just gonna flatten it out as much as I can real quick. Now I washed my hands just to get all that disgusting meat off my hands. Now I'm gonna give it a good amount of salt. I'm gonna give it a good amount of pepper. And I'm gonna throw this right into my bowl right here that I have. Now with a clean knife that I just cleaned off, I mean, it doesn't really matter because it's all gonna cook together. I have some beautiful portobello mushrooms. Now they're a really good size. So I'm just gonna cut 3 for now. And I'm gonna finally chop them. Now what I realistically should have done is just get the blender and just blend it up, because that's really all I want. It's just like a blended mushroom essentially. That's actually what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna blend it. Now I have my mushroom and my meat in the same bowl. I'm gonna season it up and I'm gonna move over to the frying pan. Now right here's my frying pan, and I'm just gonna add a couple different things. I'm gonna add a hint of olive oil, just a hint. I have my beautiful stuff right here. I'm gonna throw this in the pan. I wanna make sure that sausage completely breaks up. I don't want any parts to kind of be stuck together. Now I want this to mix very well, because again, these flavors are gonna marry each other anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And I want it to get nice and brown. What I do have is some pecorino romano that I'm gonna throw in here. And to make sure it's all broken up, because I want it to be completely broken up. And the mushrooms have a lot of water, so I'm gonna put this on a low heat now. Now I'm gonna let that water kind of evaporate out of the mixture here. I got all of the water out, and now I'm just gonna turn it off, essentially let it cool down a bit. All right, so my pasta has about 10 minutes left to rest, and then we're gonna see how the texture's looking. But for now, I'm gonna work on my filling even more. Now I have some beautiful basil here that I'm gonna be adding to the middle of my ravioli filling. You guys still don't even know what sauce we're making for the ravioli, which we'll come up to very, very shortly. Now what I'm gonna do is I have some basil here, and I'm just gonna cut it very, very finely. So once that basil is beautifully, beautifully cut, I have my bowl right here. Now I'm just gonna add a couple things. This is for my ravioli filling once again. Right here, I have my beautiful mushroom and sausage that I put in a frying pan. It smells beautiful, by the way, beautiful. Now I already added some pecorino romano to it beforehand. I'm gonna add a little bit, just a dash of crushed red pepper flakes. Just a hint, just to give it a little tiny bit of kick, just a little bit. Now I already have some pecorino romano in there, but I'm gonna add a bit more because you can never do too much pecorino romano. Now I have my next big ingredient for the filling, and that's ricotta cheese. Now I'm gonna add some ricotta in here. Make sure it's very, very beautiful. Now I want it to be a very cheesy filling, so I'm gonna add a good amount of cheese to it. So I added a little bit of ricotta, if you see on the GoPro, and if you see on the camera. I'm just gonna mix this up very, very well. Make sure it's nicely incorporated into everything. I think I'm gonna add even more ricotta, to be honest, even more. Now I'm gonna add that beautiful basil. Now it's looking pretty good. I'm gonna give it a quick taste test. Tastes very good, very, very good. Now we're gonna quickly make our beautiful sauce that's gonna be with our ravioli. So right over here, this is gonna be an incredibly simple sauce. I'm using the same pan that I put the mushroom and the meat on. I'm gonna load it up with a good amount of olive oil. I got that in the pan, and the first thing I'm gonna add is a hint of minced garlic. Now, can I mince my own garlic? Yes. Am I going to for this video? Not necessarily. So I'm gonna throw my garlic in the pan, and I'm just gonna wait for it to not brown a little bit, but just gain a little bit of color, just a little bit. And once the garlic is gaining a little bit of color, I'm gonna add some sun-dried tomatoes to the mix, very finely chopped sun-dried tomato. Now, this is the sauce that I make for literally almost every pasta dish in my house. It's just too good to not make. Now, I have the heat on a medium heat. It's nothing too crazy, nothing too high. Now, if I had some type of chicken stock or something, I would throw it in here as well. But once I have my sun-dried tomatoes in there, I'm gonna throw in a handful of capers. Capers add a nice saltiness to it. I love seafood, so it adds that flavor and the taste that I love. So I'm gonna get this to all kind of cook for a little bit, just like a minute or two, nothing too crazy. And I'm gonna add some crushed red pepper because I love some heat to my sauce as well. Now that this is gaining some color, getting some traction here, I'm gonna throw in some beautiful, beautiful basil. Just a little bit. I'm gonna save about half of it for the second part. Now, while this has been going for a little bit, I have some more pecorino romano here that I'm gonna throw into the mix of it as well. Throw in this pecorino romano to kind of thicken up this sauce a little bit. Now I'm gonna put the heat to a very low heat. I'm gonna throw in some heavy whipping cream. Not too much, just a little bit. And I'm gonna mix that up right here. Now you see that beautiful color that it has, and I'm gonna shut it off. And that is my sauce that I will be using, completely done. And this is the best thing for any pasta dish. Now is the time everyone's been waiting for, and the moment of truth. This is my pasta, and honestly, it feels pretty good. It looks a little bit dry. I'm just gonna wet the tips of my fingers and then mold it a little bit. Like just a tiny bit of water on my hands, a tiny bit. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna flatten this out as much as I can. And I'm gonna do it in different parts because doing it all at once is literally not, for me at least, it's not possible. And I also need a top and a bottom for my ravioli. And I found this thing in my drawer. This is gonna be perfect for my ravioli, perfect. So now it does seem a little dry still. I mean, at this point, there's no saving it, there's no fixing it. I'm gonna throw a little bit of flour underneath. I'm gonna throw a little flour on top, just the tiniest amount, the tiniest amount. It already feels pretty dry. Now I have my machine. We're gonna put this on the lowest setting, and this is the first part, here goes nothing. Now it's not looking the best, it's not really coming together here. That's okay, I'm just gonna let it flatten out completely, and I have an idea. Now, honestly, I mean, it looks like shit, let's be honest. I think what the problem was at the setting, it was too small. So I'm gonna thicken this up a little bit so I can actually get some shape to this. And we're gonna go for round two with a little bit thicker, longer, it's gonna be perfect. I'm just hoping for edibility here. That's all, I just want edibility, that's all I want. Now we're gonna turn this on again. I have it on a fairly low setting, not too low. Now it looks pretty good, it's still together, which is a good sign. We're gonna put it to 4 and do it one more time. Okay, I mean guys, look at this. It's not too bad right now. Now I'm gonna go to the lowest setting I have, and this is gonna be a challenge. So this is gonna be our beautiful ravioli pasta dough that we're gonna be using. I'm honestly gonna save the other half of the pasta for another day or another type of pasta, because this is a lot of pasta right here. This is a lot. But now I have my water getting to a boil. Now I'm just gonna cut this down right here just a little bit, leave it so it's nice and flat here. We can probably make 3 raviolis out of this, and that's all I want. I just want to taste. We have our beautiful filling right here. These aren't gonna be big, huge raviolis. It's just a little bit. I'm gonna get the center. and I'm gonna just plop it right down, just like that. Now I'm gonna see how many we can make because I don't want the raviolis to be too big. So right here, I have enough for 4 ravioli, and I'm gonna cover them up just like this. Now I'm just gonna kind of start cupping them and giving it a little love here. Now this is the part where usually it doesn't work out too well because it either doesn't hold to the dough or something just goes wrong. But now I'm gonna use this thing that I have and we're just gonna kind of figure it out. And just like that, we have some beautiful ravioli. Honestly, they look pretty good. We're looking at the camera right here. What do you guys think? If you ask me, that's actually pretty solid. Now, the next time you see me is gonna be with the finished product. Time for plating, boys. We have our beautiful asparagus. Now we have our beautiful ravioli that I'm just gonna place right there on the plate. I'm just gonna put 2 for now. They honestly look pretty fire, I'm not gonna lie. Now I have my beautiful sauce that I had to add a little bit of butter and cream just because it sat for so long. But I'm gonna put this right on top of my beautiful ravioli, just like that. Now it doesn't look like a lot, but it took a lot of work. Now homemade raviolis with a mushroom Italian sausage filling, asparagus on the side. Let's start with that, see how it tastes. Now for the part we've all been waiting for. Let's cut open this first ravioli. Oh yeah, if you look on the GoPro, you see that beautiful filling. Here goes nothing to our first ever, hopefully good homemade ravioli. That's delicious. Oh my gosh, it worked. That's genuinely so good. Make sure you leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Adios.